Hello, this is Chris Hammond, chrisdoc.com, and in today's DNN video, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to take our development environment and we're going to upgrade to the latest release candidate for DNN 9.6. I believe it's DNN 9.6 release candidate 2. We'll find that out here when we get over to my VM and get working through the process. This video is probably going to be a little bit longer than normal. Usually try to keep the videos under 10 minutes. This one, who knows, may go for 30 minutes, may go for 60. I'm just going to kind of fly by the seat of my pants and give this thing a whirl. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take our current development environment, and I'll show you which version of DNN that is here in a little bit. We're going to back it up, and then we're going to go grab the release candidate for DNN 9.6. We're going to upgrade the environment. We're just going to test out a few things. We want to test out our module, make sure that the DNN simple article module still works with 9.6. Now, we're not upgrading a production environment, and I'm going to make sure that I take a backup of my development environment before we do the upgrade. That way I can always roll back to it. It is not currently recommended that you upgrade your production environments with the release candidate, but it is recommended that developers try to test it out, make sure that you're not going to run into any breaking changes before the official release, which I think comes out either next week or the week after. So let's go ahead and just switch over to my development VM. My VM's running here inside of a VirtualBox machine. Let's go ahead and load up the website here. We're going to navigate to DNNDev.me, which is my local website. And once that loads up, it's going to take a sec. We're going to go ahead and log in. We'll take a look at what version of DNN we're upgrading from. If I recall correctly, I think we're running 9.4.4. So the site loads up here. We're going to go ahead and log in with our host or our super user account. This VM hasn't been accessed in a little while, so it's a little slow right now. Log in with that super user account. And once we're logged in, on the left side of the screen, we'll find that persona bar. Assuming we get logged in. And within the persona bar, we're going to be able to tell what version of DNN we're on by mousing over the DNN logo in that top left corner. And we can see I'm currently on version 9.4.4. All right, so that tells us what we are upgrading from. Let's go ahead and do a simple backup process here for our website. Now, to do that, I need to back up the database and the file system. File systems, super easy to back up. For me, I'm simply going to go to the C:websites folder. I'm going to copy the DNNDev.me folder and paste it. Now, you can press Control-C, Control-V. If you want to right-click and choose Copy and Paste, you can do that as well. So that'll start the backup of the file system. Now, let's go ahead and switch over to SQL Server Management Studio so that we can back up our database. Now, we want to back up the database because if for some reason we have to roll back, we want to have both the file system and the database available to us to restore that original development environment. So SSMS is loading up here. While we're waiting on that, you can see the copy paste for the development environment is also proceeding as well on the file system. Now, while we're waiting for that to load, let's go ahead and start the download of the release candidate. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to navigate to github.com/DNNsoftware. And from there, I'm going to click on the DNN.platform repository. And under that particular repository, we're going to go to the releases, and we can see that there was a release candidate number 2 was put out 2 days ago. Now, the big breaking change or potential breaking change here in 9.6 is around the Telerik controls and the bindings. So I want to go ahead and just test that out with my local development environment. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down there. And if we scroll down, expand the assets section, I can find that there's the 960 RC2 deploy, install symbols, and upgrade zip packages. Now, in my development environment, I just use the install package, but when I go to do an upgrade, I simply use the upgrade package. Now, I do not work with the source code of DNN in my development environment. So the zip file is now downloaded. Let's go ahead and open that folder. We're going to right-click on the zip file. Whoops, Windows popped up a different folder. Right-click on that zip file, choose Properties, and choose the Unblock option before we extract the contents of that zip file. I can then right-click on the zip file, choose Extract, and go ahead and let the zip file extract there into my Downloads folder on the local Windows machine. Now from there, let's switch back over to the SQL Server Management Studio. Let's try to get logged into SQL Server. Hey, I remembered my password. I'm going to navigate on the left side to the Databases node, and now I'm going to simply right-click on DNNDev.me. I'm going to go ahead and choose Tasks, and I'm going to choose Backup. Now, I'm going to back that up just in the default location. If I want to check, I can check Media Options. I can choose to overwrite any existing backups or append to those. Go ahead and click OK. And our SQL Server database is now backed up if we need to restore it. Say the upgrade goes wrong, or after we're done testing on the release candidate if we simply need to restore for some reason. So I went ahead and closed SQL Server Management Studio. I don't need to leave that open. You can see my VM's a little slow, so just free up some resources there. We switch back over here. We're still extracting the files for the upgrade package. So we'll go ahead and let that finish here. If you want to switch the video to 2x speed, feel free. This is going to be a pretty raw video. I'm not going to most likely make too many edits to it. I'm not going to bother to pause the video while I'm waiting on some of these longer processes. You can speed me up, make me talk like a chipmunk if you'd like to watch it a little bit faster. So once the extraction is complete, we're going to go ahead and I'll open up my two file folders here into split view here in Windows 10. So on the right side, we've got our website folder, the DNNDev.me folder we'll navigate into. And on the left side, we have the downloads folder with the extraction that's completing. All right, so the extraction is now completed. Let me put that on the left side. And simply what we can do now is we can copy the contents of that extracted zip file. I'm going to click anywhere in the folder there, press Control-A, Control-C to copy. Switch over here to the website's DNNDev.me folder and click anywhere inside of there, press Control-V to paste, and Windows will replace all of the files with the upgrade files and the upgrade package. Now this is also typically how I would do an upgrade in production. The difference in production, I probably would have disabled my site using an app offline.html file. That just makes the site inaccessible and displays an HTML message to anyone navigating to the site. I'm in my development environment, doing it quick and dirty, not worried about anyone else hitting this particular site or needing to see a message of any sort, so I don't have to worry about that. Now within Windows, it's going to prompt us to overwrite the files. We want to go ahead and choose yes or replace and let Windows replace all of those files. Now, one common misconception when you're doing an upgrade is if you're using the upgrade package and you're pasting the zip contents over your existing website, you're going to lose the existing website. You typically will not. It's not to say you won't screw something up and lose something, but you're not going to lose the web.config file. You're not going to lose the logo of your website because that information is not actually part of the upgrade package. So on the right side of the screen, actually, let me go and just see if I can make this bigger. You can see inside of the DNNDev.me folder, all of the files and folders that were replaced are highlighted in blue. And you can see down below, site urls.config, web.config, a couple other config files didn't get touched by the upgrade package that we copied and pasted. All right, so we are now ready to go back over here to our web browser. We're going to navigate to our local development environment. Now, the first time we do that, after we paste in all of the upgrade files, we're going to have to wait for the site to recompile. So once again, it's going to be a little bit slow while it does this. And what we should expect to see is that on the next screen, we should see the upgrade login screen. It's going to ask you to log in with your host or your super user account to start the upgrade process. I never do that. I'll show you what I do. So here we are. We've got the upgrade screen, shows us current version, target version of the upgrade version. It asks us for username and password. I never do that. I always simply go to the URL, and where it says upgradewizard.aspx, I always change that to install.aspx, and that will fire off the upgrade process as well. So if you ever come across a DNN website, maybe in the wild, and you hit the site and it shows you upgradewizard.aspx, if you want to be kind and helpful, you can always just change the URL and watch that particular upgrade fire off. Now, that might not be all that kind and helpful, because if someone was trying to do the upgrade and was expecting to see the results of the upgrade, you've just hijacked that. So if we go ahead and scroll down, you can see all of the various packages that are being installed during the upgrade process. You can see next to most of these messages, we just have a green success beside them. The ones that don't have green are just kind of general messages performing general upgrades, etc. So it's just kind of a placeholder as we're going through the process of the upgrade. Now, we do have to wait for this to complete. It's not the best UI. This is not a page that's really maintained. The project would push you towards that upgrade wizard.aspx file that we bypassed. But if you scroll down here, once it's complete, you're going to see an upgrade complete message and a click here to access your site link. So from there, we'll go ahead and just click on that. And again, we've now upgraded DNN. So it's going to take it a moment to recompile the website. And once the recompile occurs, what we should see is we should see the home page again. Now, that may or may not work. We'll see. We're upgrading to a release candidate. I haven't touched DNN 9.6. I have no idea what it's going to do to this site. So we're going to video it and record it and send it out onto YouTube so you can see what happens, just as I do. Now, if something breaks, then the video is going to be a little bit longer, because we're going to go through and try to figure out what breaks. So if we get back here to the home page, mouse over the DNN logo in the persona bar there, you can see version 9.6.0. So we've now upgraded the development environment, which I have a couple of different modules available to us. So in this development environment, I've got the Engage Publish module on one page. Let's go ahead and check that out first. I'm going to navigate to the Publish page here. And this is a module that I wrote when I worked at Engage Software many years ago. I still maintain a fork of that module for my own, a couple of different personal sites. ChrisHammond.com runs on it. And I think some of my car websites run on it. I also maintain the DNN Simple Article module, which is like Engage Publish, but much simpler, far less features. Inside the Publish page here, we've got a simple, or not a simple article. We have an article. In this case, it says new article, here we go. It's got the date, the author information, when that article was updated. It's got the content of the article, has some tags available as well. So just from a testing perspective, I can see that at least the article loads. So it doesn't look like anything's broken at this point. Let me go ahead and check it out from an admin perspective. If I go to try to edit the article, let's see if anything breaks as we get in here. Now, the Engage Publish module has not seen a lot of love in terms of a UI or user experience perspective. This module, like I said, I maintain a fork of. I use it for my own things. I do not spend a lot of time making it look pretty. I wrote it, or helped write it, probably 15 or 16 years ago now, when we started on it. So I know a lot about it, and I just kind of work with what's there. It does have some attachments, file system things that you can go through and do. There's all sorts of version information available to the editor, anyone working with an article, title, description, etc. Doesn't look like anything's broken, at least at this point within the module. So I'll go ahead and click on save, and it saves the article. We have last updated 4.16. If we go to the list of article versions, we can look at prior versions of the article, go into our settings, but just a quick pass, at least with the engage publish module, doesn't look like that particular module or my forked version of that module is going to have a problem with DNN 9.5 or 9.6. Let's go ahead and switch over here to the simple article module. So DNN simple article is a module that I've been doing a couple of videos in the series here recently. If we switch over to the page with that module on it, first thing, we don't get anything on the page. Let's switch into the pencil here down in the bottom left. This particular module does require that you switch into edit mode in order to be able to add articles. The engage publish module doesn't necessarily require that. If we go in here to the module, we can see under the actions menu for the module, there's an add article option available to us. Now, I actually haven't done a video on how to add an article just yet in the simple article module. That was coming up, I believe, was the next one in the series until I hijacked it with this particular video on upgrading to RC2 for DNN 9.6. But adding an article is actually pretty simple. You give it a title. If you give it a title, you can also give it a permalink. It will give one by default. Let's just call it, this is the first article. You can see it gives it a permalink of this dash is dash the dash first dash article. So it takes the title, makes it all lowercase, removes any special characters, removes any spaces, and replaces those with a hyphen. From here, we can give the article a description. Just a text-based description. We can choose if we have any thumbnails, an image we would like to associate with the article, we can do so. I don't know that I have any images uploaded that we might want to use. These are just some images that came with DNN itself. I'm not going to worry about setting an image. And then let's go ahead and just populate a body. And just to duplicate that, I will copy and paste a few times. Now the next thing we get is a categories drop down that is attempting to list off a series of tags. I haven't actually set those up yet. Now that I say that, that was what I was going to do next in the DNN simple article module video series. So you'll see that in a future video as we get those configured. For now, let's go ahead and just save the article, and that will create our first DNN simple article module, or excuse me, our DNN simple article. And we can click on the link, and that will load the article there on our page. So at this point, between the engage publish module and the DNN simple article module, it doesn't look like I'm going to have any problems with DNN 9.6. But let's go ahead and try one more thing. I'm going to navigate over here to the modules page. Under that, I have a subpage called MVC and another module called sample module 2. This was a module that I created, I think yesterday, as just a quick test of my MVC module template. Someone in the forums was having a problem, saying they were having problems with the MVC module using a template. They didn't say if it was my template or someone else's. So I wanted to give my template a whirl, make sure that it worked. So I created a new module called sample module 2. I created a page called modules MVC, and then a new page called sample module 2. And on that, I have this module. So this particular module is pretty simple. The template by default, when you go to create an item, gives you the ability to create an item with a name and a description, and then you can assign a user to it. In this case, you don't have any users. It's a whole other video topic to take a look at. But let's go ahead and just try to create an item. And see if this is going to work for us. So there we go. We've got an item created with a name, a description, an edit, and a delete link for the item. Couple other things. Let's just double check. We'll go into the module settings. At this point now, I'm pretty confident that at least these 3 modules that we've tested are working just fine. I'm using a couple of my skins. I want to say that this is the HammerFlex 2 skin currently being used on this page. It appears to be fine in DNN 9.6. If I go to the sample module 2 settings, I can see the various settings that are available to us. Click on update. Looks like the module settings are working fine as well. Let's try a couple other things. Let's go to the site assets page. So under the persona bar, under manage, click on site assets. At this point, just randomly checking some things that I would think to check after doing an upgrade to make sure that functionality appears to be correct and functioning. If it wasn't, then we might want to go back to DNN and report an issue with the release candidate and hope that it would get addressed before things get into production for the official release for 9.6. Let's see what else. We'll go to the admin logs. Looking under here, we can filter, go to all sites. Doesn't really look like there's anything going wrong. You can see around, let's do the math. That was, let's say 10:35 p.m. It's currently 10:44. You can see all the various alerts that fired during the upgrade process. So that's what these orange items are. It was just the various packages that were installed as part of the upgrade process. Since then, so in the past 10 minutes that we've been doing this video, we haven't had any modules that have thrown an error, or the scheduler hasn't thrown an error listed here in the admin log. So just simple things to check, test as you're going through and looking at things from an upgrade perspective. Now, I have upgraded my development environment. If I were going to leave the development environment at 9.6, I could do so. I could leave it here. I would then want to change the minimum version for my modules or my extensions that I'm developing to 9.6 as well. But I'm not going to do that right now. I will likely do that here in the near future, but I don't want to do that as I'm working through any modules before the actual 9.6 release comes out. So what I want to do, and I'm going to make this video a little bit longer, I'm going to go through the process of restoring my development environment back to that 9.4.4 version. So let's do it. Hope it works. All right. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to go back over here to my local file system. I'm going to go to the websites folder, and I've got 2 files or 2 folders here, right? I've got dnndev.me, which is currently the 9.6 version. And I have this dnndev.me-copy. That is the 9.4 version. So let's see if Windows is going to let me do this. It might not. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to rename the dnndev.me version or folder to 9.6. Well, let's just do 960 at the end. So I'm trying to rename it in Windows, but Windows isn't going to let me do it. And let's see if we can figure out why. Most likely the reason why is because IIS, our web server, is still running, and it's actually still accessing that folder. Even though I don't have my browser open anymore, the process is still executing. So let's try this on the fly. We're going to try to kill that process. Now, I would only do this in development, not in production. So I'm going to press Control-Shift-Escape to load the task manager here in Windows 10. And within the task manager, I'm going to find the IIS worker process. So under processes, I sorted by name. Under background processes, there's one called IIS worker process. I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to choose end process. Let's go ahead and minimize the task manager. Let's click try again on that rename prompt that was there. So as soon as I killed that IIS worker process, I can now go in and change and rename that original dnndev.me folder. All right, now we're going to take that copy, which is, again, was 944. We're going to remove the copy from the path, the name of the folder, and we're going to switch that back to dnndev.me. So when IIS starts back up, when the web server starts back up, it was pointing to c:\websites dnndev.me. It once again will be pointing to that same path. Now that path is currently running 9.4.4. That applies to the file system. It does not apply to the database. So when we upgraded DNN, we also upgraded the database. Now the database didn't get renamed. It actually does have a version number in a table inside of the database. But what we're going to do is we're simply going to go and we're going to roll back the database. We're going to restore to that database backup we took prior to the upgrade. So we'll wait for SQL Server Management Studio to load here again. It's still nice and slow. We're going to connect to our local SQL server. Now you could have a development environment that does not have a local SQL server. Maybe it's somewhere else. That's okay. We're going to switch on the left side. We're going to expand databases. We're going to go to dnndev.me. We're going to right click. We're going to choose the task option again. This time we're going to choose restore. We're going to choose restore database. And that will bring up a window here, which we can take a look at the backup information that's available to us. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And we can see that there was a full database backup. Had a start date of 4/16/2020 at 10:29 p.m. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. It's been a long time since I've actually restored a SQL Server database. So let me go ahead and hit OK. And it says the database failed. Why is that? Let's try this again. I'm going to just simply uncheck and recheck again, see what happens. No, it doesn't like it. Alrighty, so we're going to switch over to, there we go. Let's switch to the options page on the left side here. And I'm going to choose this override existing database. And now it still doesn't work. What am I doing? User does not have permissions. Okay, so let's try this again. I logged in with a local SQL Server user called dnndev.me, which was the user that I set up when I set up this development environment. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm going to switch over here to Windows Authentication. So that's going to give me access to, oh, look at that. It's in a restoring state. This is awesome. This is really awesome. So on the fly, we've now killed that local development database. And let's see, before we go and do anything else too crazy, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my file system. I'm going to find my database backup. Now, I didn't really pay attention to where it went to, but I think it went into the program file, SQL Server, MSSQL 14.MSSQL Server / MSSQL Server backup. Of course, it tells me I don't have permission to get into that either. But let's go ahead and try to get in there just the same. So I forced Windows to let me in. What I'm going to do is, just to be safe, before anything goes crazy, I'm going to take the backup of this database and I'm going to make a copy of it. Because if I, within SQL Server Management Studio, somehow lose the database and the backup file, I want to make sure that I can still get to that backup file. So we're going to go back here into SQL Server Management Studio. I'm going to right click on databases. I'm going to choose refresh. I want to see if this dnndev.me is still restoring. It says that it is. Database is not accessible. I go ahead and right click. I'm going to try to delete it. I'm going to close any existing connections to it. All right. I'll get rid of this database too because I don't need that anymore. Okay. So I have now deleted my development database. So there's no going back to 9.6 at this point. I did not make a backup of the 9.6 database. What I'm going to try to do here now is I'm going to try to right-click on databases. I'm going to restore database. And my source is going to be a path, a file. So I need to find the backup that we took earlier. We can see there is a backup, and it actually goes to that same folder we were just looking at, right? The C program file, SQL Server, blah, 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 blah. Into the backup folder, there is a backup called dnndev.me.bak. Now, there's a log backup as well. I'm going to ignore that for now, if I can. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK, and that's going to take me into the options here to configure anything else I need to configure. Now, I don't think I need to do anything else. I don't need to worry. If I want to change the files where they go, I can. I don't need to replace the existing or overwrite the existing database because I already deleted that guy. And it's going to restore the database with the name dnndev.me. Go ahead and hit OK. This time it works, thankfully. And just to give it a quick pass through, if we expand, we should see all of the DNN database tables and such. And it appears that we do. All right. So at this point, we have now at least attempted to restore our development environment. So I'm going to try to hit the website again. So I'm going to navigate to dnndev.me. That's going to load IIS. It has to fire back up because we killed it. We hard killed it with a task manager exit earlier. And if we navigate to dnndev.me, we're going to wait for the site to load, and then we're going to log in. And what we're going to hope to see when we log in is that we find we're running DNN version 9.4.4 because that's what we were running prior to this whole process. I'm guessing that this is going to load up just fine. It's going to work. If for some reason it doesn't, it looks like it did. I was going to say, if for some reason it doesn't, or it potentially could have gone haywire if the cookie for the website was still there and the cookie didn't work anymore. Because I logged in, or I was logged in with that host of that super user account to a DNN 9.6 site. If the format of the cookie was different or something got funky there, we may have had to have cleared our cookies from the browser in order to get in. But we didn't have that problem. So I'm going to go ahead and log in with that host or that super user account. And once that completes, we'll take a look at the persona bar. And we should see that we are once again back on DNN version 9.4.4. So video's just over 33 minutes right now. A little bit longer than I thought it was going to go, but we went through some additional steps that I did not originally plan to do in the video. But that's all right. Just wanted to kind of walk you through various processes. Hopefully this is useful for you. Let me know down below if you think this is a good format of the video or if it's way too darn long. Like I said, I try to usually break up a video like this into probably 3 or 4 different videos. But tonight, for this process, to try to encourage people to try to get out there and start working with DNN version 9.6 with the release candidates, I wanted to just walk you through the whole process as I would and do some simple testing. Now, if you got some really complex modules, I would definitely encourage you to go and do your testing soon. Provide that feedback back to the project team. See if there are any issues. It will only help you to find the issues now as opposed to finding them after the official release of DNN 9.6. Because if you can either fix the bugs on your side or get DNN and the project team to fix the bugs before the release, if you have to support customers who upgrade to 9.6 and there are bugs, it's time well spent to do it up front. So my name is Chris Hammond with christalk.com. I'll be back hopefully later this week. Actually, no, it's Thursday. It'll be next week before I'm back, but I will get some more DNN simple article videos out there for you. Again, throw a comment down below, subscribe, give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.